Oh, the Dolphins are all over the place morning. It is the Erskin Music Show, and I'm so excited to be here for you today. This is the final episode of season 2. We never thought that hip hop would make it this far, and yet we have. And it's an opportunity to check out and hang out with you guys for just a little bit today. We're not going to go too long and too strong, but again, every time I say that, we go pretty long and we go pretty strong. But I want to close out the season. I found myself sitting there waiting and thinking, okay, if I start the show, then the season is going to be over sooner. And so I'm kind of delaying the start of the show because that delays the end of the show. But you know what? It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. So yeah, it's kind of one of those episodes. A little bit of a teardrop there. So I want to let you guys know the comment section is turned on. And let's go ahead and use the Twitch platform, since I don't know what you guys do. Twitch, comment section is turned on. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, so great to see you and your comments and your snarkiness. And we love to chop it up and get into all of that we possibly can. But it's also great to see those of you who are tuning in on YouTube. Thanks for the international audience that is joining us from Belgium, from Australia, from where are you guys at over there in Indonesia? No. So it's available worldwide through the interweb. And then those of you who are watching us on Twitch, thank you so much for playing your video games and listening at the same time. Wouldn't be the same show without you trying to embed viruses into the show. So thank you so much for that. Comment section again is turned on, and we are, man, I guess I don't have sound effects. The Dolphins have gone to sleep. But I want to let you guys know that there are no Dolphins that are harmed or in any way injured or maimed as a result of this show, the broadcasting, the filming, taping of this show. The Dolphins are safe. Cats, however, they may not be as safe. And so check in today as you have the opportunity. I know we've kind of transitioned into some of the summer months now, and I wanted to make sure that we close this thing out the right way, a great way. And so I wanted to get into a couple of things today, but before I do that, we don't have our horns or our sound effects or anything to signal the transition of time here, but wanted to get into, Memorial Day, play a little bit of music for you guys because this is the Erskin Music Show. And then also wanted to get into the Tulsa Massacre. If you've not heard about that before, we'll read a little bit about that and we'll talk a little bit about it. And so good to see you guys joining today. Whoever's joining out there, I'm going to roll on today because that's what we do. Give you a couple of Erskin music effects. And then what I wanted to do today is just kind of give people an idea of, if you've never seen the show before, or if you've regularly watched the show, regularly been a part of the show, all good. I want to give you guys an idea of who Erskin Music is. And I think we're going to have Miss Erskin Music come in a little bit later. That's from what I understand. Miss Erskin Music is scheduled to be here, although moms always get pulled away at the last minute for family emergencies and things like that. So here we go. Let's jump into it today. Normally, I'll do a devotion at the beginning of the day. This is a Christian music talk show with a Christian music artist. I'm the artist. My name is Erskin. The talk that usually revolves around this show is not just stuff in the music industry or not just stuff about music, because that would be complete vainglory, but it centers on things that are culturally relevant, things culture is talking about, things that people are talking about. And so we don't shy away from any of those topics. And I'm not making it like a black or white thing, but I'm just simply saying that I don't, by virtue of my personality, shy away from hard topics and hard discussions. And so I'm always looking to have those things. I know sometimes people get a little bit skittish about that because, you get 3 Christians together, you're going to get at least 5 different opinions. And so we kind of live in that era where people are a little bit guarded about that. No problem. No issues with that. I'm just a little less concerned about what people might end up saying. And what is going on here? All right. Here's a quotation by John Piper in a book called Don't Waste Your Life. And normally this kind of serves the devotional section here where we say, get into scripture, talk a little bit about scripture, and then kind of give you my freestyle ad hoc devotion for the day. But what I want to do today is just give you guys, since we're moving into the summer months and since we're moving into a time of a little bit more leisure. I don't know how many people are out there in summer school or what the summer travel or schedules looks like, but a little bit more leisure in people's lives these days. Wanted us to think about how we spend our lives and what that actually looks like in relationship to our lives. This comes from the book Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. And he says this: life is wasted if we don't grasp the glory of the cross. Cherish it for the treasure that it is, and cleave to it as the highest price of every pleasure and the deepest comfort in every pain. What was once foolishness to us, a crucified God, must become our wisdom and our power and our only boast in this world. And so I'm so thankful for the centering that quotation gives us about the use of our lives and what we truly hone in and truly focus on. Jesus saves, then he saves us to move out into the world and to glorify him in all the things that we do, whether we eat or whether we drink, and then we have a life. And as I was going back and reading through different quotes from that book, I think I have that book on the shelf somewhere close to me. It was just, again, reminding me that we only have one life. It'll soon be past, and only what's done for Christ will last. And so, John Piper, thank you once again for centering us in on what it means to have a full, rich, God-glorifying life. I don't know if you guys know this, but there are several sponsorships that I am connected with, and one of those is Holt International. If you could see the sign on Big Head here, Big Head, Ruby, and Scooby in the back there. One of the signs that's up there is for Holt International. And I just want to give you guys a quick promo to kind of let you know what it is that I do when I'm going around and doing concerts. If I've never come to do a concert for you guys, maybe you should book me for a concert. But for those that I have come and done concerts for, you're pretty familiar with this because it's going to be on the table. It's going to be some of the things that I talk about from the stage. And I'm excited to have my partnership with Holt International because they are pioneers in international adoption. We are an adoptive family. And from time to time, the kids will get on the show here, but there's not enough space in this room for the kids anymore. They've got big. So here's Holt International. And then we're going to keep going with our topics today. Again, comment section is turned on. And it's the Erskin Music Show. Good to see you guys this morning. Hey guys, you may have never heard of an organization called Holt International. Well, that's okay, because at one point, I'd never heard of them either. I quickly learned that they were a child advocacy program, much like Compassion or World Vision. And yet, that never impressed me, because I've always wondered if sponsorship money ever really does get to the kids that are advertised. But I did a little research about Holt, and I found out that they had been around since the 1950s, and that they were actually pioneers in the realm of international adoption. This group is impressive, and they're actually unique. I began to realize that like our family, Holt was actually giving other families the life-giving opportunity, not only to sponsor children and strengthen families, but also to adopt. Yes, adopt. That made all the difference in my confidence concerning who they were. It became even more personal when recently I took a trip to visit some of the kids that I advocate for. You see, for me, I know what they have done, and I know what they do. But now, these kids, families, and administrators are real people, living at times an extremely difficult life for Jesus. Simply, will you pray for these kids whose information is displayed at the table in the back? And will you consider sponsoring or even adopting one of these precious children into your home? To God be the glory, great things He is doing. All right, we're back. That was Holt International, and that was some of the work that we get an opportunity to do for Holt International. Let's move forward and get to our first story today. This is Memorial Day. How did you spend Memorial Day? For those of you who are watching, comment section is turned on. What did you do on Memorial Day? Did you have a barbecue? Did you hang out with friends? Did you honor fallen soldiers? Did you go to a cemetery somewhere? I saw a lot of people that were at the nearby cemetery here and honoring our veterans, our soldiers who died, defending this country, also providing the freedoms that we have in this country. And that was very appropriate. So what did you do on Memorial Day? How do you commemorate those kind of special occasions that we have here in America? wanted to read to you a little bit of the history because sometimes, we get a little bit squirrely about history. And I guess if you wanted to kind of give this show a theme, it would be a history show because we're going to talk about several things from history and we're going to keep it as positive as we can in this show. I don't shy away from topics, and I do kind of have an opinion about some things, but here's something that I believe is very positive is that we know the history of kind of where Memorial Day came from. Memorial Day is an American holiday. So all over the world, it's not necessarily the same thing. Observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the United States military. It was on May the 31st. It was originally known as Decoration Day. It originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. Unofficially, it marks the beginning of the summer season. That's according to history.com. And you can see those in the show notes. What did you do on Memorial Day? Well, we used the opportunity to go and help a friend who needed some help with painting and some lawn work. And we were happy to spend the day doing that and very much enjoyed the fellowship and the company that we had on Monday and getting able to just have the freedom to be able to work on a house and to work on things and to do things. So that was a good use of our day. And then we came back, and because our family watches movies from time to time, we watched First Kid. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's Sinbad, who is, I don't know what you think about Sinbad. I've always appreciated Sinbad because he was one of the rare comedians in the era that he grew up in that was actually a clean comedian. You could listen to Sinbad and you could watch Sinbad and not have to worry about a lot of the things that, an Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor or Red Fox, some of those comedians would be saying in some of their skits. And so I always appreciated Sinbad, and no wonder he found his way into making movies with kids. He has that personality that just kind of endears him to kids and audiences. And so I remember that from back in the days. And I thought, kind of government, kind of a light military thing. I don't want to kind of keep it light around here, but a good opportunity for us to watch First Kid. If you've never seen it, it's on Disney. Fun movie. Really not too much that you could take away from that by way of a political opinion one way, hard or the other. It's just kind of a fun kid Disney movie. Has some bravery, has some heroism, has some kind of backstage kind of anecdotal things about what presidents' lives are like, and may or may not be true. Presidents' kids' lives are like, may or may not be true, but just kind of creating a good story for us, and gave us an opportunity to kind of think about our country and the freedoms that we have in a light way. So what did you guys do on Memorial Day? Was that a day that was well spent? Was that a day that you were, I don't know that many people would be working that day, but it was a good opportunity to kind of change things up a little bit for our family. Wanted to kind of give you guys an idea, since this is the Erskin Music Show, of some other things that we do on the show. This was recently done for CCM Magazine, and it's the song "Is He Worth It?" And I want you guys to see the acoustic version of it because although you can get the production version of it and you can see it on YouTube, you can stream it. I thought this was a good candid look into me talking about the song and then also playing the song for you guys. And so this is one of the latest songs that's out right now. And I wanted you guys to see the CCM Magazine review of it. This is the cafe presentation of this song, and it is the Erskin Music Show. So if you've never heard this song before, here you go. Is he worth it? Hello, I'm Erskin of Erskin Music, and I'm excited to be here today to share a song called Is He Worth It? The song comes from a book called The Insanity of God, and the author of that book is Nick Ripken. In the book, he shares stories of how his interaction with the persecuted church around the world and in different places has encouraged the statement and the phrase, "Is Jesus worth it?" And some of the difficulties and experiences that he has shared with songwriters across the planet. And he has encouraged songwriters to write songs of substance that encourage people, because many times our brothers and sisters who are facing persecution, while they may not have a Bible, while they may not have protection, they have songs that resonate in their hearts that they continue to sing in the midst of their persecutors, often and in some cases bringing them to faith in Christ. This song is a challenging song for me, just in the sense that it encourages me daily to continue to pursue Christ and to live for Christ. I'm so excited to be a part of this project because I know that the project is much bigger than myself. It's bigger than myself. It's bigger than Nick Ripken or any of the names that are on the project. This project is essentially there to help our brothers and sisters in persecution, to be a voice and a song that they cannot sing in times and ways that they cannot sing. And so the song is called Is He Worth It? And yeah, enjoy. This is no game, it's no fairy tale. I stared right into a rifle barrel. It all comes down to this: is he worth it? This is no dream, it's reality. They stole my love and my dignity. It all comes down to this: is he worth it? This is where faith lives or dies. This is where hope comes alive. Pay the price, pay the price. This love demands a sacrifice. I'll give what I can't keep to gain what I can't lose. Count the cost, count the cost. It's a privilege to bear the cross. No matter what I face, my heart is certain that is worth it. This is no play, it's no Sunday school. Just give up now, don't be a fool. They jeered and laughed and said, is he worth it? This is no lie. They stole my child, they'd give her back if I'd just deny. And the road seemed long ahead. Is he worth it? Pay the price, pay the price. This love demands a sacrifice. I'll give what I can't keep to gain what I can't lose. Count the cost, count the cost. It's a privilege to bear the cross. No matter what I face, my heart is certain. Life is gonna ask you to make a choice. Give it all away for a greater joy. Nothing's greater than Jesus. The heavens open up and we see his face. Standing there, yeah, we're gonna say he was worth everything. Pay the price. This love demands a sacrifice. I'll give what I can't keep to gain what I can't lose. Count the cost, count the cost. It's a privilege to bear the cross. No matter what I face, my heart is certain. No matter what I face, my heart is certain that he's worth it. Oh, Jesus is worth it. Oh. Hey, I want to say thank you to CCM Magazine for putting that together, and it's a wonderful time spent up there with those guys. And that is just a small sample of what you get in the more produced version of the song, Is He Worth It? We have a special guest that's coming in here. Special, because it is Miss Erskin Music who's coming in just a little bit. I think she's still getting some things ready there. So we'll go ahead and this will be a little awkward today, but we'll race ahead to the next story because I know she's got a certain time window that she's looking at today. And so we're going to deal with just a little bit here on the Tulsa Massacre this morning. I want to talk about that in the light of kind of where we find ourselves at in history on this day. We're commemorating and just breaking the tape now for 100 years since this has happened. And I'm going to be honest with you guys to start out with. This is not something as amazing as my history professors were, history teachers were in high school. I was in advanced placement history all throughout high school. I loved those classes, loved being a student of history. Um, we read extra books. We did more work than what was normally required. I tested out of all but one class in history in college, but I never got this lesson anywhere in my American history. It was only until later when I started, looking up some historical trails of kind of following things that were related to civil rights in America that I came across this. And I thought, man, why have I never heard about this? Why does nobody ever talk about this? This is certainly not a topic of conversation that I've heard people in church talk about. Historically speaking, I've not heard a lot of people talk about it, at least from the white evangelical perspective. And yet being challenged by some of the folks that are out there to actually know African American history, the things that actually happened. That's been a challenge that I've taken up, and I've learned a lot of things that have both encouraged me in terms of inventors that are out there and things that Black Americans have contributed to our country and in Christianity. But then also I've been discouraged by a few things that I think maybe has been glossed over because, man, there's really no way to spin this and make it sound good when it wasn't good. And I've got some commentary that I wanted to add to the end of that. But just to let you guys know, comment section is turned on. A couple of folks are watching here, not making any comments today, probably because you want to say, what is he going to say about this? What's this dude going to say? And I'm actually going to read to you from Joseph Robinette Biden, because the Biden administration, our president, has made a statement on this, and he's sort of fixed this into American American culture for perpetuity now that he has signed and made this statement commemorating this event. And as I came across this, didn't realize that some of the folks that actually went through this are still alive today. They're between 101 and 107 years old. And if that ain't longevity, I don't know what is. But I would imagine here in the next few years, few moments, we will not have any surviving people to commemorate who can actually tell firsthand accounts of what that was like. But nonetheless, if you're not familiar with the Tulsa Massacre, you probably will be, because it's going to be talked about on the news all day today, and it's going to be talked about for perpetuity. And for that, I'm glad, although come on. I'm going to take a quick pause because we got a special guest who's joining us today. And she's got a special service announcement for all of you who are out there. And so she's going to appear on the screen here in just a moment. Oh, look at that. It's
in just a moment.
In just okay, 5, 4, 3. Come on. Yes, it is Miss Erskin Music, and she's joining us. What do you want? Here, this is a microphone. What do you want to tell the people?
What was I supposed to say? Erskin Music is the best.
It's the best.
The best.
There you go. So you I don't want to interview you or anything, but you've watched the show from time to time. What are your thoughts of the show?
Killing my back.
I should let you sit down, but you're about to go.
I'm about to go. What are my thoughts of the show?
Yeah, I thought it's the best.
It's the best.
It's the best show.
Yeah, it's good. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're dealing with the Tulsa Massacre, Black Wall Street today.
Okay. Well, I'll let you finish that.
It's kind of how it goes around here. Oh yeah. By the way, let's talk about the Black Massacre. Okay. So anyway, thank you for coming on the show. We couldn't have a show without you. Here, all you gotta do is do this.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah, we were always there. It's just
okay.
If you use the free version of this, I don't want people to know my secrets, but it pops on there for just a second, then it comes off.
Okay.
But anyway, we're about to deal with that, and yeah.
All right, I'm about to head to swim practice.
All right, you guys swim, have your Little Mermaid fun today. Bye-bye. All right, that was Miss Erskin music, also known as Kelly, tripping over the wires over there. But it's all good. We love it when that happens. Let me get to reading this from Joseph Robinette Biden, who states, historically speaking, and then what our response is in America. 100 years ago today, a violent white supremacist mob raided, firebombed, and destroyed approximately 35 square blocks of a thriving Black neighborhood in Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Families and children were murdered in cold blood. Homes, businesses, and churches were burned. In all, as many as 300 Black Americans were killed, and nearly 10,000 were left destitute and homeless. Today, on the solemn centennial of the Tulsa Race Massacre, I call on the American people to reflect on the deep roots of racial terror in our nation and to recommit to the work of rooting out systemic racism across our country. Before I give my commentary, I'll just keep going. Before the Tulsa Race Massacre, Greenwood was a thriving Black community. All this is true. All this is true. Black community that had grown into a proud economic and cultural hub. At its center was Greenwood Avenue, commonly known as the Black Wall Street. Many of Greenwood's 10,000 residents were Black sharecroppers who fled racial violence after the Civil War. You can read about such things as that in that book that I'm currently reading that I just forgot the title of, The Warmth of Our Other Sons. Yes, The Warmth of Our Other Sons, The Great Migration. In decades following the Civil War, Reconstruction, Greenwood became a place where Black Americans were able to make a new start and secure economic progress despite the continued pain of institutional and overt racism. It is what it is. The community was home to a growing number of prominent Black entrepreneurs, as well as working class Black families who shared a commitment to social activism and economic opportunity. As Greenwood grew, Greenwood Avenue teamed with successful Black-owned businesses, including restaurants, grocery stores, hotels, offices for doctors, lawyers, and dentists. The community also maintained its own school system. Now, they had to maintain their own school system because we were segregated. School system, post office, and savings and loan institution, hospital, bus, and taxi service. Despite rising Jim Crow system and the reemergence of the Ku Klux Klan, Greenwood's economic prosperity grew, as did its citizens' demand for equal rights. This made the community a source of pride for many Black Americans. It also made the neighborhood and its families a target for white supremacists. In 2 days, a violent mob tore down the hard-fought success of Black Wall Street that had taken more than a decade to build. In the years that followed, the destruction caused by the mob was followed by laws and policies that made recovery nearly impossible. In the aftermath of the attack, local ordinances were passed requiring new construction standards that were prohibitively expensive, meaning many Black families could not rebuild. Later, Greenwood was redlined by mortgaging companies and deemed hazardous by the federal government so that Black owners could not access home loans or credit on equal terms. And in later decades, federal investments, including federal highway construction, tore down and cut off parts of the community. The reason why I'm reading all of this, and I'll get to this, I'll say this sentence, and then I'll talk a little bit about that. The attack on Black families and Black wealth in Greenwood persisted across generations. Okay. Time out. So here we go. We're giving a historical account of what happened. And so I know there's any number of people who will respond. If there are certain people who were alive today, and these, sometimes we get into what I call victim shaming. I can guarantee you there might be some folks that are on Fox News or some people that are out there who are saying, well, really, it was certain people's fault, and that's the reason why these things happen. They try to always excuse away instead of talking about what actually was. This is history, what happened. And essentially what happened was there was a Black bellhop who some kind of way had words with, there was a white lady that was there, and because they didn't, that was sacrosanct. You're not supposed to have these disagreements or this mistrust or between the races. The reason why it was a race situation is because the racism involved in this was what was picked up on, and they started to deputize people and go into this community and say, hey, we're gonna create justice for ourselves. No trial, no jury, no accurate accounts of what was going on there. And so a race riot ensued as a result of that. And it didn't really talk about that in this. It talked about some of the survivors, and I'll read about that a little bit later. But I wanted to deal with that because I think a lot of times, and I don't know if this is a good thing, we get shielded from history like this, and revisionist history would want to tell us, hey, look, there's not been maybe like a civil war that was bad. Okay, well, maybe we'll give you Reconstruction, and maybe some of the Jim Crow laws of the South were just a little bit oppressive. But because by and large, historically speaking, I don't know too many people who are watching the show who are over 100 years old, that didn't happen to us, then I think a tendency that we have is that didn't happen to anybody. And we have a tendency to look through the lens of, surely that couldn't have been that bad. I mean, surely that's just an overhyped version of what was going on there. But the only reason why I read this in somewhat of its entirety is because some of the things, if not most of the things that happened on the Black Wall Street, except for the massacre, were happening in other places. As you read about the Great Migration, do you guys know about the Great Migration? Do you guys know that there were people who were fleeing the racial violence of the South and then going to some of these northern cities, western cities, California, other places in the country, and then experiencing racism there as well? We thought that racism was just in the South, but if that's the way you read history, you read history wrong. Racism is in the heart because it's sin. And so getting to these cities and these Black families saying, hey, can we take out a loan? No, you can't. Well, we have as much credit as everybody else. No, you can't take it. Nope. We're not going to be able to insure those loans. Why? Because that's in our rules. Why? Because that's our rules. Well, is there anybody no, there's nobody you can talk to because our rules say that you can't. What about, can I live over there if I have the money? No. Why? Because you can't live over there. Why? Because that's our rules. Why? Because you don't look like the people that live over there, and all these excuses. And so I know there's a lot of people, and we'll get to this, that kind of look at our situation and they say, we have had some really interesting economic downturns in our country, and whatever recovery process there has been in the midst of all that, how should that be distributed? To whom should that be distributed? Is there anything that should be apportioned differently because of things that have happened in the past? And that's an active, passionate discussion that many people are willing to have. I don't want to have that discussion today, but I just want to simply say that there is, historically speaking, some ways that economic progress has been blocked and or denied. And if you look at some of the ways that gentrification is done today, again, there's some issues. And man, if this was just something that we put in a history book and we say, man, that happened on that day or those 2 days, that was really bad, then I think most Americans would come and they would say, man, that's really sad. We moved past that. That was really unfortunate. Let's all collectively breathe a sigh of relief, never do that again. But because those kind of things continued to happen, because those kind of things continued and continue to happen, most Americans aren't going to get together because we get in defense mode and we say, well, that doesn't happen today. Certainly the massacre part does not happen today. We have laws in place so that the redlining and some of the loan and home ownership things don't happen. And so we kind of shrink back from saying, we probably need to take responsibility for a little bit more than what we take responsibility for. So let me continue to read here. A century later, the fear and pain of the devastation of Greenwood is still felt. As Viola Fletcher, a 107-year-old survivor of the Tulsa race massacre, courageously testified before Congress recently, I will never forget the violence of the white mob when we left our home. I still see Black men being shot, Black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see Black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot. So Robinette went ahead and said, with this proclamation, I commit to the survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre, including Viola Fletcher, Hughes Van Ellis, and Leslie Bing and Phil Randall, the descendants and victims, and to this nation, we will never forget, honor the legacy of the Greenwood community and the Black Wall Street, affirming our commitment to advance racial justice through the whole of our government and working to root out systemic racism in our laws and policies and in our hearts. Now, therefore, I, Joseph Robinette Biden, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me in the Constitution and the laws. Okay, that's his part to say. I'm worried about all that. So that's where we find ourselves. And here's the deal. I want to go ahead and say this so that everybody hears this. Watch the tape. If you want to know what it is that I think about something and what it is that I have to say about something, watch the dang tape. Here's what I have to say. I want to make sure that you understand that as a follower of Christ, I do not put my hands of blessing and endorsement on the government to say that all of the ways that the government is trying to solve this problem of racism, or all the different ways that they're trying to identify what racism looks like, and all the ways that, you know, our government is reapportioning and reallocating and reaffirming and rethinking and revising things in history, is 100% I'm on board with that, because I am not. But what I am saying is, on the other side of the coin, all the different ways that I am hearing Christians either be silent, either be ignorant. And when I say ignorant, I don't say that because I'm trying to be sloppy or messy. I'm saying that because a critical thinker, which is what I am required to be, which is what my seminary professors required me to do, is to hear both sides of an argument, think through the argument, and then add something to the conversation that is being added here. And so when I say Christian and ignorant, I'm not saying that we don't know. I'm just saying we don't do what we know to do sometimes when we come to these conversations, which is listen, think, and then give some substantive advice, critique, encouragement in places I'm dissatisfied with. I'm dissatisfied that there's not more white evangelicals who take up the calls to talk about things like this and to say that as a Christian community, here's where we're going with this. So there's the history that was, there's the history that is, and in my mind and in my heart of heart, because Jesus saves, bro, and I'm a Christian, there's the history that I want there to be. Can't find it. Somebody from Tulsa, and I got some friends from Tulsa. Somebody from Tulsa, give me this story. Baptist Press, somebody out there, find a story. Don't make one up because that's false. Find a story of Christians who engaged in this conversation in a meaningful and helpful way. That's what I want to hear. I don't want all the talking points to be the government saying that we want to recognize and we want to commemorate and we want to understand and we want to make sure these things don't happen. I don't want all those talking points to be the government. Why does Joseph Robinette Biden have to be the one who comes out and makes a statement about this? Where are the Christian leaders at? Y'all quiet. Here's the history that I wish would have been written. The history is this massacre starts clearly a race-related white supremacist mob that is forming. The pastors get together in the city and they say, guys, y'all gonna have to settle down, because a lot of y'all guys that are up in this mob and a lot of you guys that are getting deputized to go out there and to start this violence are deacons at our churches. Brother so-and-so, didn't I see you were on the front pew the other day? Brother so-and-so, hey, what are you doing? Put the guns down. Put the club. No, you ain't going nowhere. If there would have been some white ministers stood up and said, hey, to hell y'all are going out there and killing black people. Y'all gonna have to sit down. Let's have a meeting at the church. Let's get together. Hey, this is not going to happen on our watch. And I'm not saying they could have done that, but I wish that is the history that would have been written, as that white pastors who had an opportunity to intervene at the time would have intervened, would have connected with black pastors. There would have been a Christian movement there. And this would not be what it was in history. That's the history that I wish would have been written. It's not the history that was, it's the history that I wish was. And furthermore, let me extend that argument. I wish the history that was and the history that was written was that Christians had a better track record of engaging the culture in some of these areas. No, do we become social justice warriors? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Christians who actually have the guts to ask both the parishioners and people who are congregants and both the people in the government to live in a way that glorifies God, to live in a way that promotes human flourishing, not just the soundbite of, we should all get along. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. And then do absolutely nothing. You know what? I was stirred, and I know I should probably pay attention to some comments here. I was stirred by the time that I was in Memphis, and there was a police race situation that was completely inflamed. And I don't know if you guys remember this a couple of years ago. The interstate was completely blocked. They are not letting cars go through there. The police come out fully arrayed, riot gear, block off the other half, and I'm visually watching this. I'm in Memphis. I'm doing a show there, and I'm watching this on the news. Crowd on one side, police line on the other side, and it is about to get messy. I mean, anger. You talk about violence, and you talk about the fact that these folks are about a matter of moments from getting mowed down. Police giving instructions, people yelling. If you can imagine the scene, there are pastors who are out there who have marched with the people, who then began to de-escalate the situation, who then began to take the people off the bridge and have another place of demonstration and protest. Now, I'm not saying that every pastor needs to do that, but for crying out loud, can we get some pastors who have some guts to actually go out into the world and do something about this proclamation of who Jesus Christ is? Can we get some people who actually, censorship button, stay close to me, censorship button, who have the boldness to actually say the gospel that I preach and the gospel that I believe and the gospel that I believe will lead to the greatest human flourishing because it is the abundant life, is the gospel that I will live amongst my neighbors. And I can de-escalate and I can redirect and I can create different lines of conversation. That's why we have this show, so that we can create different lines of conversation. You see, if the world is hearing Christians ding, 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 talking about all these things, but they don't see us doing anything, and they don't even see us being willing to talk about any of these things, then when we go up and talk to them and say, you know what, something's all wrong about your life, you need Jesus Christ, they look at us and go, let's talk about what's wrong in people's lives. Apparently, if you have Jesus Christ, it doesn't really make any difference to how you actually live. And so why would I change anything up if that's the result? If you're the result, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify the Father in heaven. I don't know what you want to do with that today, but there's the history that was, and there's the history that I wish was. So don't put me in the comment section of, or in the category of those who are, what is social justice warriors? I think people use that as a pejorative term. Maybe social application warriors. I'm going to socially apply this gospel to the way that I live and the conversations that I have with people and the way that I interact with people. Maybe that's what I am, a social application warrior. I'm not a social justice warrior. I'm a social application warrior. I think that I ought to apply my Christianity to the places where I go all throughout society. I think that pure and undefiled religion before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. That's what I think. Oh, wait a minute. But I didn't think that up. The brother of Jesus actually said that. That's James chapter 1, verse 27. Comment section is turned on, but I know this is a spicy tomato. You might not want to touch this one. So let's land the plane here. If folks want to get in comment section again, it's turned on. I wanted to remind you there's a 10-second delay. I'll take all of your comments because Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. This is a very kind audience and a very well-informed audience. I love to discuss things with this particular group, but we'll continue to discuss these issues. I don't know what you do about letting your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify the Father in heaven. Vodi Bakum and others who are out there say that our country is headed toward a race war because it's being inflamed by all these people who are bringing up the past issues, and they're bringing out, ways that racism still exists today. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think, so here's the thing. There's people who tell me, you know what, I wasn't a racist before, but now that I have to hear about racism all the time and I have to hear about, how bad things are, it's really making me not like black people. And I scratch my head and I go, I'm struggling with that one, because if, I have a difficult day, and because of the pressure of the day, it causes me to yell at my wife, or it causes me to kick the dogs or be mean to my kids. I can't blame it on the day. That's what's in my heart. And just because of the circumstances of the day, that's what caused the thing that come out of my heart that was sin. So if people talking about our country and some of the race related things that have happened in the past is making you now become racist, you were already racist. All right. Well, that's a sin, and that's a sin that Jesus died for. So let me be clear about this so that you guys don't confuse this show with any other show. The Erskin Music Show. To the ends of the earth we go, and we share like my wife said, the Erskin music is the best music that we can, the best commentary that we can, to just share with people our encouragement and our love for Christ, because God demonstrated his own love toward us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. He died for a sinner like me. And recognizing this universal situation that we're in, which is bad news. The good news comes on the heels of that we can't rescue ourselves, that we can't make a way of salvation, that we can't earn our way, that we can't work our way, that we can't do our thing, that God now presents and says, yes, this is what I have wanted you to do so that you could cross this threshold and get to heaven. Nope, he had to send his son into this world to die for sinners such as myself. And then he says, this is the provision that has been made for you. And the response, the only response that is appropriate, is that our knee would bow and that our tongue would confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. The only response is to confess with our mouth and believe in our heart that Christ Jesus died and be saved. That's the only appropriate response. Now, that's not the only response that people give, but the only appropriate response, predicated on all the great love that God has given to us and all the demonstration of that love and the verification of who Christ is and why he needed to come and why we needed to be saved. That's not the only response. Some people will respond with indifference. Some people will kind of sneer and the preaching of the cross is foolishness to them who are perishing, but to we who are saved, it is the power of God. And so I wanted to keep that the main thing, the plain thing of the Erskin Music Show as we move into the summertime. We've got some PayPal information on there. If you enjoyed the show and you want to drop a couple of dollars in the coffers for that, that's cool. You can do that. If you don't need to do that, because our show is going to ball out whether you drop any coins in here or not. It is the exercise of what we talked about in the first story, Memorial Day, and those who died so that we could have this freedom. The freedom to be able to get on a podcast like this or a live stream situation like this and to share with you guys. And that is something that we do truly enjoy. And so I want to thank each of you guys for your participation in the show. You guys make the show what it is. And in fact, Jason, who has just given us some tremendous comments, not only on this show, but also on the weekend comments. And so I want to give a special shout out to you, Jason, for all the different ways you think, I think, we think, and I think we're all better. I think we're all better when we begin thinking. Means not doing the wrong thing. Character is doing the right thing. That's well said. I don't know, Jason, if you're a writer, but maybe you should be. And going back through some of your comments, just very thoughtful and focus on this show. And so I can tell you, if you've not already subscribed to this, we will be giving a couple of updates throughout the summer. We've got a new single that's coming out, and I'll probably jump on and talk a little bit about that. Maybe Mason and I will jump on and talk a little bit about that project, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, just so you get a chance to know who Mason is. She's going to be the artist that is featured on this next song, and we're really excited about that. So you can subscribe to this show on YouTube, Facebook, and you can also subscribe on Twitch. Check it out. All right. So that is the show. That is the Erskin Music Show. Instead of giving our typical outro, I wanted to give a little bit of music. Song called Be Brave. So you guys can be bebopping into the summer, dancing. And so thank you guys again so much. Jesus Saves. We'll be all throughout the summer doing camps and different locations. The weekend show that I'm doing this weekend, Lord willing, we'll be on location down in Texas, getting ready to do some events down there. Looking forward to that. And then the following and last show that we will do, not this show, but the weekend show for the Way Forward will be not this weekend, but the following weekend. Jason and I will be doing it. I will actually be up, Lord willing, in Illinois. And so we won't need two screens to jump on there. We'll be all in the one screen together. And I think that'll be a fantastic way. So we've got a guest coming on the Way Forward show on Saturday. And then Jason and I will close out this year on Saturday as well. I'm going to be in Granbury, Texas, by the way, Jason, on Sunday. I'm doing a concert, maybe 2 concerts in Granbury, Texas. And so if you're anywhere near Granbury, Texas, just follow our social media. I think I can get that up as soon as I get some information from them today about what times I'm going to be playing. But I'm going to be with Lakeside Church in Granbury on Sunday morning, I believe. We're still working out some of the details of that. And you would think with it coming up, I'm scheduled all the way out until October now. But some of the fine details, I know where I'm going to be, but some of the fine details of what I'm going to be doing at what particular time and what particular services, they're still a little fuzzy. But if you're anywhere near Granbury, would love to see you. Would love to meet you in person. If we've not already met, or if we have met, would love to reconnect with you. And I'm going to be out and about with a lot of people this summer. And so we're looking forward to just all the different things that we get a chance to do with Erskin Music. And Lord willing, before too much longer, we will have some of the travel restrictions internationally be lifted so that we can get to some of the places that we need to get to. And we'll be giving you some updates about that. And so season 2 is in the books. Season 3 will begin back in the fall, around the time when school starts. And I hesitate because I know as soon as we stop doing this show, there's going to be something that happens in the news. There's going to be some major news story. And my impulse is to not run away from a fire, but I always like to run to a fire and see if there's any, can I put some water on that thing? There's just different personality types that are out there. I get that. Not everybody has to be like me. I'm not saying everybody should be like me. In fact, if everybody was like me, this world would be a different place. That's for sure. But anyway, thank you guys so much for a great season, great times together. And this is the song Be Brave, because I want you guys to move into the summer being brave. God bless. God bless America. And all those typical customary things that people say. Season 2 in the book.
I'm surrounded by people watching me. They're watching me, watching my every single move. Something special is rising up. Yeah, it's rising up, coming from deep inside of me. Like a flame, it's the passion of my life. You can see it when you look into my eyes. I'll never be the same, yeah. Love makes me who I am today. Makes me wanna be brave. Love makes me who I can hear the sound. We're gonna sing like we never did. Oh, we gotta sing until they hear the harmonies. Till everybody can hear the song. Let's have a party, everybody, sing along. We'll never be the same, yeah. Love makes me who I am today. Love makes me who I am today. Makes me wanna be brave. Love makes me who I am today. Love makes me who I am today. Makes me wanna be brave. Wanna be brave. Come on. Throw your hands up, raise your voice up. Feel the power of the spirit move. Throw your hands up, raise your voice up. Feel the power. We'll never be the same, yeah. Love makes me who I am today. Makes me